This video, we're going to talk about the global defaults screen here inside WishList Member. So WishList Member, advanced options, and global defaults. And this is, as sort of the name applies, defaults that you can set that are going to apply globally across your membership, so across membership levels and so forth. So these are all a little bit different. You'll see we have admin info, error pages, redirects, etc. A lot of this stuff can be overridden on an individual basis, so an individual level and so forth. But these are sort of the global defaults that you can set as sort of a general framework for your membership. So the first one let's go through is a simple one, is add the administrator information. So name, email, address. This primarily is going to apply to emails that get sent out, primarily the email broadcast, but also any sort of auto-generated emails that WishList member is going to set out if they require this sort of information from the administrator of the site, then this is the information we're going to use. So you'll just want to sort of set this up globally on a global basis, save it, and you probably will never have to mess with it again. All right, next is error pages. So for membership levels, we have different error pages. So we have non-member, wrong member, membership canceled, and membership expired. So non-member is if someone just isn't a member of your site at all. They don't have an account. They don't belong to any membership levels, that sort of thing. If they try to access protected content, this is the page that they'll be redirected to. Again, that can be overridden on a level-by-level basis, but this is the global default. Wrong membership level. This is if they are a member, they belong to a level, they just don't belong to the right level. So you have multiple membership levels, and they just don't belong to the one that they need to belong to in order to have access to a particular piece of content. Membership canceled, as it implies, if they registered, they belong to a level, and then either canceled or card didn't go through or something like that, and they've been canceled for some reason, and they try to access content that they think they have access to. This is a page that you can create that'll say, hey, your membership was canceled. Could be for this or that reason. Go here, or email support here, or etc. You can kind of give them some information about how to renew. And then the last one here in terms of error pages is the membership expired. So if you set the expiration to being a fixed, if you set the term options in a level to being fixed, and they go past that date and they're now expired from that level, you can create a page that explains that to them. The other one here is prevent duplicate shopping cart registrations. As the tooltip says, when enabled and a member has registered before and then attempts to use the same info to register again, WishList member will not create a new membership, but will update the existing membership. So if you turn this on, then that will be enabled, and you can click over here into configure, and this is the message. They'll see either the message, a page, or you can send them to a particular URL to let them know what's going on. So that's sort of why this one falls under error pages, is because if you enable that, you're going to have to send them to a page to explain to them what's going on. This mainly is just to prevent people from, sometimes they'll purchase through a shopping cart, they'll come to your site, and maybe they'll register, and then maybe they'll get up and walk away, and they'll come back, and they might forget or something along those lines, and they try to register again. This can prevent that sort of thing. WishList member is pretty good in doing in handling those scenarios intuitively. Like even if this is off, we still do things to manage that sort of thing. So you really don't need to turn this on unless you're having some sort of big issue with that happening, and then you might want to turn it on. All right. So with that said, then looking at the error pages, you'll see each of these has a configure button. They're actually all going to be pretty much the same. So if you click configure, and you've kind of seen this, you can select a page. So if you create a page inside WordPress, you can select whichever page. You can of course create one here if you don't have one, and this will just create the sort of the placeholder page, and then you'll have to go in and edit it, of course. Or you can select to create a message, and what WishList member will do is it will actually use what we call our magic page to display this message. So you don't actually have to create the page. You can just display this message here, and it will display on a page. Or you can specify a specific URL if you have some specific URL that maybe isn't a WordPress page or whatever that you want to send them to another site, something along those lines. You can specify that here. And then, of course, hit save and close for whatever you preference you set. If you come in here to all these others, you can see it's the same page, message URL, page, message URL, and so forth. So you get the point. It's the same for sort of each one of these. They have a default message in there. So you can kind of take a look at that and then use that to maybe create your own or whatever, tweak it a little bit, etc. All right. Next is redirects. So again, the global defaults, that's the context here. Most of this stuff can be overridden on a level by level basis, but these are sort of your basic global settings that you want to set. So the first one is after registration. So this will be displayed after a successful registration. This only appears one time for the member immediately after registering. So when they go to the shopping cart and they come back to WishList member, they'll be asked to create their account. So username, password, so forth. And when they hit submit on that, then you can decide what page you want them to see at that point. A lot of times what we recommend is what we call an interstitial page. So it's essentially a page that says, congratulations, your registration is successful. Click here to access the dashboard or all your content or the home page or whatever. And then they click that, and that's the actual page where they get access to everything. And the reason why that is primarily is because by default, whatever page you set as the after registration page, WishList member is going to automatically unprotect. And the reason we do that is just in case when we create a new account, we automatically log people in. And that process at this point is fairly foolproof, but just in case there's some sort of glitch, the last thing you want is someone to click the register button and they go to a page that is protected and they didn't get automatically logged in, and now they're going to go to an error page. That would be a pretty bad user experience. So we just automatically unprotect this page so that that scenario doesn't happen. It's also pretty handy for using if you want to do like a one-time offer. You can create that as the after registration page. So you create that page, you use that as your after registration page. And so when someone registers, they'll see it that one time. They can say yes or no to your one-time offer. If they say no, that will link them to now your dashboard page or your home page or whatever. And every time they log in from that point forward, they'll just be taken to that login page if that's what you specify. So it can be handy for that as well. Membership requires approval. So if you have admin approval turned on for a level and someone tries to log in to access content, they're not going to be able to access content yet because they haven't been approved. And so you can specify what page that they will see until their membership is approved. So if you have admin approval turned on, you'll want to create this page. But if you're not using that, then there's no reason to have this page. Same for membership requires confirmation. This is email confirmation. So if someone registered, if you have email confirmation turned on for a level, they register, they haven't clicked the link that they need to click in the email to have their membership confirmed, and they try to access your site, this is the page that they'll go to. So again, if you have it turned on, you'll want this page, but if not, it's not something you need to worry about. After login, so this is the page that they'll see after they log in. So we kind of talked about after registration, now after login. Usually this is going to be your dashboard page, your home page, the main page where they're going to go to get access to all of the content and features that are inside your membership site. Again, this is on a global basis. You can override this on an individual level. So if you have multiple levels and you want different levels going to different pages, you can set a default here and then go into your individual levels and create individual pages for each level, or you can even just skip the creating this page and do the individual ones for each level. It's sort of up to you. After log out, I think pretty self-explanatory, the page that they'll go to after they log out from your site. Unsubscribe confirmation. So this is when a user unsubscribes from the email broadcast, they will see this message page or URL. So because of the way laws work and so forth with email, we have to allow members to be able to unsubscribe from your email broadcasts. And so if they do that, and every email you send with email broadcast is going to have a link for them to be able to do that. That's, again, just required by law. So if they do that, then when they click that link, this is the page or message or whatever that they will see when they click that link. Resubscribe is, again, I think self-explanatory. If they resubscribe, then there's a page that they will go to, or that you can set that they will go to and what they will see and so forth. So again, all of these in terms of the configuration, you'll see page, message, URL. Just like before, you can create a page in WordPress. You can just edit a message and we'll create the page. We'll use our magic page to display it for you, or you can set a specific URL. With these, you can also insert merge codes. So these are first name, last name, email, etc. You can just click on one of these and it'll drop it in there for you. So that makes that pretty handy and simple. All right, that's redirects. Next is protection. So these are sort of some miscellaneous protection settings. So only show content for each membership level. This is what we refer to as our hide show feature. So all protected content will be completely hidden from non-members when this setting is enabled. So if someone needs a particular level to be able to have access to a particular piece of content, and you have this turned on, they won't even see it in search listings, in category listings, in homepage listings, and any of those sort of listings. It's not going to show up if you have this turned on. Hide protected posts from the public RSS. So as the sort of name implies, if a post is protected, it's not going to show up in the public RSS. Probably most cases you're going to want to have that on. That's why it's on by default. Hide protected content from search results. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Any protected content, when someone does a search, it's not going to show up in the search results. Protect all content after the more tags. So if you are using more tags on your site, then WishList member will automatically protect the content after the more tags. So this can affect listings. Again, you know, if your theme is set to display a full post on a category listing, but you're using a more tag, and there can be some nuance to how that works and so forth, WishList member will just go ahead and protect all content after those more tags, so you don't have to worry about it. Again, probably want that on. Automatically protect content by inserting the more tag into all posts if the more tag is not inserted into any post. So that one's fairly verbose in the explanation, but it is what it is. It is what it says it is. If you turn this on, we will automatically insert the more tag into a post if that post doesn't already have a more tag, and then you can select the number of words where you want that more tag inserted. So that's what that does. Hide after login page and after registration page of each level. So this is for site navigation. This probably doesn't apply as much anymore because we can create custom menus and so forth, but this will allow you to hide the after login and after registration page when menus are automatically generated, which is still an option in WordPress sites. You can have your navigation automatically generated, so when you create a new page, it gets automatically added to your navigation. If you turn this on, though, we'll hide the after login, after registration page for each level, so they don't show up there, because sometimes that can cause clutter. Default content protection. So if this is turned on, then whenever you create a new page, post, custom post type, whatever, then that piece of content, the protection for it will automatically be turned to on. So most cases, if you're doing, say, a modular course, or even a membership where all of the content inside of the membership is going to be protected for the most part, you probably want to turn this on just so you don't forget. But if you're integrating with an existing blog, so you have a blog, maybe it's really popular, and you're adding WishList member so that you can make some of your posts premium, but the majority of your posts will be public, then you'll probably want to turn this off. And then default pay per post protection. So if you turn this on, all new pages or posts that you create will have the pay per post feature turned on by default. So by default, it's not turned on. If you turn this on, that'll flip that so that now by default it is turned on, and you can add members, or you can use the pay per post SKU to integrate with the shopping cart, etc. Let's now talk about the email tab under global default. So there's a couple things right off the top here. So the first one is do not send reminder emails when a member unsubscribes. So if this is enabled, WishList member will stop sending reminder emails when the user unsubscribes. There's a number of different reminder emails that someone could have regarding expiration, or it could be an incomplete registration. There's just a number of those. So if someone unsubscribes from the internal WishList member email list, then those will be, though they will not send these if this is enabled. Next one is unsubscribe expired members. So again, if this is enabled, when someone it becomes expired to a level, it will unsubscribe them from the autoresponders for that particular level. So if you want to have that enabled, just go ahead and turn that on. So those are two pretty simple ones. Next, we have getting into dealing with global defaults versus per level access. So this is one of the things that is really nice about WishList member, is that there's a lot of global defaults that you have. So if you're fine with those, you can use those. But if not, you can override things on a level by level basis. So we're going to sort of go through this and talk about how this works. So when it comes to this first one, global sender info defaults, this is the sender information that your emails are going to come from. So a new member registration, if a membership is canceled, expiring, lost password, all that sort of stuff. Who is that email going to come from? Well, right here, this is who we have set at this current time. And so this is a global default. I would say most of the time, this is probably what you're going to have. You're just going to probably stick with this and have a global default that you set here. That's probably going to be your name and email address, or maybe your support email address, and that'll be it. But there may be cases where that's a little bit different. So this global default here, you'll notice if I try and click into these boxes, I can't actually edit these. And the reason why is because that information, I'm going to open this in a new tab. That information is actually stored here under the advanced options. So we have that over here edited where you can do that, and we'll wait for that to load here for a second. But again, these aren't editable, and so here's where we would actually come in and change this. And ultimately, the reason it's that way is because there's more information here that's tied to your canned spam information and complying with those laws and so forth. So we don't want to have a bunch of different places where you can edit it and get things crossed up. You edit your administrator info here, and then that info is here, and you can say that this is the sender information that you want to have. Now, there's this button here that says apply to all levels. At first, this won't necessarily make sense, but if we go into setup, and I'll again open that in a new tab, that's going to take us into our level setup. So again, as I mentioned, we can do this on a level by level basis. So this is the global default. This is what's just set, and right now that's where it'll come from. But if for some reason you want to override this on a level by level basis for one level or multiple levels, etc., you can do that. And so we come over here to email notifications, and let's just click on the new member registration. So we can see here that there's this checkbox here that says use global default sender info. It's unchecked. So right now I could come in here and do something like this, and I could change who this email is coming from if I wanted to do that. Or I could click this checkbox, and now it reverts back to the default information that we have set over here. Okay, so this checkbox and this information are kind of tied together. Now, if you just know, again, like I said, most of the time this is probably just what you're going to do, but you'll notice how this checkbox when I came over here wasn't checked. So if you want to just apply this to all levels, and you know that's the default sender information that you want to use, again, we'll leave this unchecked. Let me sort of close this. Now let me hit apply to all levels, confirm that it wants to do that. It's going to go through all the levels now, and it's going to essentially turn that checkbox on. So let me reload this page here. And so that gives you an easy way to just, okay, this is the sender information. I want to make sure that it's set for all levels. You click that button, and now I'll come in here and you see that checkbox is checked. Well, actually that one doesn't, because that doesn't go out to user, but you see that this checkbox is checked, and it'll be the same way for all of your levels. So that's what this does, is it allows you to set a global default for your sender information, apply it to all levels, and now all your emails are going to come from that sender information. I'll say it one last time, probably what you're going to want to do. But if you do want to overwrite it on a level by level basis, just come into the level, uncheck this box, enter the information that you want it to come from for that particular email level, hit save and close, or email and or that membership level, and hit save and close, and you'll be good to go. Okay. So that is the global sender info defaults. Now we have a similar thing with email notification defaults. So if you take sort of the concept of what I just talked about with the sender info, we have the same idea with our email notifications. Now, you know, in past versions of WishList Member, this actually wasn't an option. You wouldn't be able to edit these global defaults, but we added this now where you can edit these global defaults. So these are the actual email messages like you see here that are coming out, and the default is what's in here when you first create a membership level. So you can come in here and edit this on a level by level basis. So if you just want to come in and for every single membership level you create, you want to come in and change this, you can do that, and you really don't have to pay attention to the global defaults. Okay. But if you want these, if you're going to use these, if you want to create a default that whenever you create a new membership level, it's going to work for that membership level and you don't have to rewrite these emails every time, that's where we start thinking about the global defaults. You also see here that we have this reset to global default message. So the message that it gets defaulted to when you click this button, let's say you edited something in here and then you were like, oh, I want to go back to the original. When you click this button, the original it will go back to is what is set here. Okay, so again, you can override it on a per level basis, or you can use sort of the global default here. Okay, so if we come in here and let's just do new member registration, we'll hit edit notification. This is where you can come in and edit the default, not the per level, but the default. And this is what used to be hard-coded in WishList Member that you couldn't edit. You'd have to override everything on a level-by-level basis. Okay, so we've now made this so that you can edit this global default. If I make a change here like this, and I save that, and then I come over here, and let's just refresh this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this reset to global default message. Now I added... Again, we'll come over here. I added these M's at the end of the subject line here. When I reset this, then it's going to now add those M's to the subject as well. So that's the whole idea here is I've edited this global default. And now if I come in here and I hit reset to global default message, it's going to add what I added. So now you see these M's here. Okay, so that allows you to now edit those global default messages. When you create a new level, that's now the message that will be automatically created in here. You can still always come in and edit these on a level by level basis. So if you want a different message for every level, you can still always do that. This just makes it a little bit easier for you to manage your defaults versus your level by level, etc., and giving you the option to edit this, which you never had before. Okay, so I'm going to change this back and hit save. Now, one other thing that we have here that's important. Oh, and there's actually two things. So you see here, this says reset to original message. So this will set this global default to what we have hard-coded. So now we have a hard-coded version that automatically populates here. We have this version which you can overwrite, and then we have the level version which you can also override. So if you hit reset to original message, this will just take what we have hard-coded in our code and put it back here. It's like you would have a fresh, if you were starting over with a fresh install of WishList Member, what would be in there. So that's what this button does. Now this one's an interesting one and is actually pretty handy. So you notice how we came over here and we hit this button, reset to global default message. This button is also kind of tied to this option here in a way, because let's say I'm in this new member registration and I'm like, you know what, I just want to start over and I want to reset everything to original. So I hit this button to reset everything to the original message. But now I want to have that applied to all of these individual membership levels, because when you change this message, it doesn't automatically retroact to the levels, right? It doesn't pass on to the levels. These are separate. The only time that this here will pull from the global default is when a new membership level is created. Okay. Or when we do this, say I want to apply it to these individual levels, I can hit apply, and now this message will be applied to these individual levels and replace what's there. So one of the things that's nice that you can do is you can reset to original message, and then you can come here and hit select all and hit apply, and that's going to reset all of the membership levels to the default message. So if you want to just sort of just want to do a reset on your email notifications, that's an easy way to do it. Just click this button, come down here, click select all, hit apply, confirm, and boom, all of them are reset. Or if you want to do it to 3 levels, however you want to do it. Okay, so that is the global email notifications. And I know there's a little bit of nuance there, but I think once you start working with it, it'll start to make a little bit more sense. Again, the whole idea, just to bring it back kind of down to earth, is global default that gets applied when I create a level, and so I don't have to edit every level if I don't want to, or I want to edit every level. I can edit everything on a level by level basis if I want to. That's the whole idea behind these two things. All right, next is other. So there's a few things under here. First one is members can update their user info. So this will essentially give them access to, will allow them to access the WordPress profile page. If you're familiar, then the WordPress has a profile page, and by default, if you're a member of a WordPress site, if you have an account on a WordPress site, you can access that profile to change a few basic things like your maybe your password or your name, etc. And so if this is on, we will allow that to continue as normal. But if you uncheck this, then we won't allow them to access that page. Next is consider pay-per-post members in WL is member and non-member merge codes. So we have merge codes that will allow you, these are a kind of private tag, and so you can wrap content in these private tags to only show it to particular members or particular members with a particular status. In this case, you can see it's is member and non-member. So is member would be, hey, if someone is a member of any membership level, then show this piece of content. And this one, of course, is the opposite. If someone is not a member of any membership level, then show the content that's wrapped in this short code. So what this option is saying is, okay, what if someone is a pay-per-post member? Should we consider them as a member? Because remember, it's if they belong to any membership level, use is member, or if they don't belong to any membership level, with non-member. So are pay-per-post members considered members in this particular context? And so depending on how your site is set up, you may want this on or off. All right, next is text to display for content protected with private tags. So just as I mentioned with the private tags, when someone, if you wrap, say this in is member and someone's not a member, what is the content that we want to display instead of the content that they would see if they were a member? That's where you can edit this. So you can make this say whatever you want. By default, it's going to say this content is protected for, and then whatever the level is that they need to have access to, members only. So you can sort of edit that and change that. This is reverse private tags. So reverse private tags are kind of as the name implies, whereas private tags are if they have access to this level, show them this content. Reverse private tags are if they don't have access to this level or these levels, show this content. So then if the member does have access to those membership levels, the reverse private tag is not going to show them the content. So what should we show them instead? And that's what this is here. As you get more in depth into working with private tags and so forth, this will sort of make sense. And then you'll probably want to come back here, and this is where you can edit those things. Finally, text to display when comments are protected. So if you have comments, you can protect individual comments. So you can protect a post, but you can also protect the comments on a post. And so you can have either different protection status, different levels have access to the comments separate from the post, etc. And so when the comments are protected and someone isn't able to view them, what is the message you want to display? And so that's what this message is here. All right, so there's a lot in the global defaults. That's probably the largest screen on here, but a lot of this stuff, there's probably a lot of this stuff you can leave as it is to default, and really just there's a few things here and there depending on your membership site that you may want to edit. But that's all of the global defaults. Hopefully that makes all of those options a little more clear.